A few days ago I shared a really proud make, a French style jacket, and now I've got the skirt to match. It's just a dream set all complete and I'm super excited to share. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. Please stay till the end because I have a question for you. I've had some type of sewing related injury and I want to know if I'm not the only one. But yeah, I'll discuss that at the end. I'm here on the last day of the site-wide sale at Love Notions. 40% off. I hope you've been inspired by my makes, and I'm here with a really special project to finish off this sale week. If you still haven't got your favorite patterns, go ahead and browse. My affiliate link is down below as well. If you do purchase through my link, you don't pay anything extra, but I receive a small commission. And there's a little bonus for you for being a viewer of mine. If you use the code PINS10 at checkout, you get 10% off on top of the 40% off. So that finishes today, Friday, so don't forget. Thank you so much for all your wonderful feedback on my Coda coats from Love Notions that I shared on Monday. It was a wonderful project to make, super enjoyable, very worth it. I'm so happy and proud. Yeah, if you've missed a video about this, go ahead and watch. Maybe you can take some inspiration and make something similar. When I laid my fabric out to cut this jacket, I sort of figured out I might have enough for a skirt, but just enough, like barely. Let's say about 70 centimeters, which is way less than a yard. I knew it was going to have to be simple, sort of short because there was no more length to add there, but I knew I wanted to make that skirt to match. And Love Notions has so many patterns, and a lot of them you can use them as a base to make something different. Although it is the same pattern, it's not made in the same way it was designed. And one of them is a glissando bottoms. In that pattern there's shorts, pants and a skirt. I've made that skirt multiple times. It's a straight fitting skirt with a curved waistband, curved pockets here on the hips, sort of looks like a denim style patch pockets on the back, lots of top stitching. The way you get in is through a buttoned fly front. I've always converted that to a zipper because that's what I like. And I've made this one in linen with tan top stitching, super pretty. I've also made one in stretch denim. I sized down for that one, lots of top stitching as well. And another one I made in a really expensive embroidered chambray, super pretty as well, all woven, all beautiful. I know the fit is there, everything's there for whatever type of skirt I want to make. And this time I decided to use that skirt to make my matching skirt to this set. I looked at some inspiration photos and I wanted to keep it simple. I had to play around with my pattern pieces to figure out how I was going to make it, because I don't decide that beforehand. I have a look at how much fabric I have available, especially the width of the fabric. This is full width fabric, 150 centimeters. I think that's about 56 inches, so that helps when you have a short amount. And I want to show you how I placed this and what my vision was for this skirt. One thing I knew for sure was that I was not going to do a fly front zipper. That has nothing to do with this style of skirt. And I had this tiny amount left of the trim I hand sewed all around my jacket. So I knew I wanted to do something very discreet. I saw some of these skirts had little pocket flaps that were for like decoration. So I decided to use the same flap that the Coda jacket has. I just made it a tiny little shorter and I added that on the front. That was 100% something that was going to be on the skirt. All the rest was up to seeing how it would turn out with the fabric I had. So yeah, I'm super excited to share. Let's just see a little bit about how this one came together. Such a staple for me, and I know I can change it around if I need. What I've done here is just place the pocket piece behind the skirt piece just to fill out this area, and I'm going to have a completed hip that way. I have been thinking about the ways I want to sew this skirt. What is clear is that I'm using the Glissando skirt pattern. That original one has a center front seam there and a fly. I'm not going to do that. I think that is more suited for casual styles. The original back piece is cut on the fold and I am going to do that right there. With my casual skirts, I have actually added a seam on the back and top stitched, but I don't want to do that with this one. This is a little time consuming to match on the sides as well. So the less seams I need to match, the better. So I have my fabric with the selvages right here, folded like this. So I have a fold there and I have a fold here. I need a way to get into the skirt and I've decided to do a zipper on the side. I don't usually do that, but because this fabric is difficult to match and I want it looking as clean as possible, I am going to do a zipper on the side. That's how I'll get into the skirt. I could scoot the pattern all the way to the fold and have a really simple look. And over there, what's left over, which is around 2 and some inches, I'm going to do a little pleat in the center. It'll give me some space to walk. This is a pencil skirt. It's sort of semi-fitted, so I think that pleat at the front is going to help me with my movement, and also it's going to look pretty. But I won't have many seams to sew, just side seams and that center front seam with a pleat. I'll be cutting out the same thing with lining fabric. I'm not going to be interfacing this type of material. Here, I'm not going to have enough to do a full waistband, and if I do, I'm going to have to piece it. And it's probably just going to have to be a straight waistband. There's no way I can fit a curved waistband with the leftovers. And I also need to cut little flaps from some of these pieces, because I'm going to have these little flaps on the center right there. I'm going to use the same flap pieces from the coater jacket, and I have this tiny little bit of trim left over, so I'm going to have fake pocket flaps there on the front just for decoration. I'm going to go ahead and serge the side seams before sewing this together. Want to protect these edges from fraying as much as I can. The only way I marked my darts here was just putting a pin through, and that's the tip of the dart, and over here are the wider parts of the dart. I'm just going to match these pins up here. I'm trying to match these shapes, so I'm going to pin it through here and come out through the same white weave right there. Just little details that take a little longer than if you're just working with plain fabric, because then I could just mark it and just pin it together and it would be easy. So I want to match these up, and all I'm going to do is base the dart here, which I normally wouldn't. I would just put pins, but I'm going to put my thread through here and just baste the shape. Is going to go diagonal up to here. So I'm basically eyeballing this straight line, which I am capable of doing. It's not a huge dart. And I've got the thread double just to make it stronger and stay there. So there you can see where the dart is going to be sewn. Now, if I wasn't filming, I wouldn't do it in pink. I am going to sew right on top of that thread. So it's going to be a little bit fiddly to remove. I would have just done this in black or white, so that if there's a little fiber left over there after I sew the seam, no one can see it. So I've got both of my darts hand basted there. And now I'm going to sew these darts. I start from the tip, and I'm going to sew right on top of that pink thread. I'll repeat the same for the other dart. Here at the dart point, I'm just going to make a few knots. I'm also going to be stay stitching this as soon as I can as well. I really don't want this stretching out. I have basted my pleat. You can see my big basting stitches. I'm basting right in the center like this. When you open this up, it will look pretty seamless. You can see the squares forming there, so you can't really see that there's a seam in the center. But I won't sew this all the way down. I'll stop around there. Leave about 6 inches undone, and that will be the pleat in the center. Before I can stay stitch the waist of the front, I do want to sew this pleat down. So I'm just going to get this done. I'm going right in between there, as you can see where my thread is. Now leave about 6 inches there, and now I'm going to reinforce. Now I'm stay stitching the waist area on the front. As I do this, I'm going to push the volume of the darts towards the center, because that's the way these darts have been trued. So I'm going from one end to the other. Now I'm happiest that this isn't going to stretch and it's been protected. For the pleat, I can push all the seam allowance to one side if I wanted. But considering this is a bulkier fabric, I think I'm just going to press the seam allowance equally to both sides like this, so that if I get bulk in the center, it will just be even distributed to both sides. So that's what I've decided to do. And now that I've got this pleat done right here, now I'm going to stay stitch the waist. I'm going to put a zipper on the left hip. That's just because I'm right-handed. It'll be easier for me to work the zipper like that. I've already serged this edge, and I'm just going to fuse a bit of interfacing in this area. I've cut this interfacing to match the shape of the curve. This is a hip curve. We do need this area stabilized for the zipper. If we place these wrong sides together, we know that this is the side that needs to be interfaced as well for the front skirt. I still have the basting stitches on this pleat all the way down. Haven't removed that because I think they're going to help me press the pleat down. As you can see, I've got half this way, half that way, and the seam is underneath there in the center. So I'm going to give it quite a bit of steam here. I want to make the crease as best as I can. So when I remove this basting stitch at the bottom and I turn this around, this is going to look like an inverted box pleat. And this is how the front's going to look with the pleat at the bottom right there. So I'm going to sew with a long stitch up to where the zipper is, so then it's easier to remove afterwards. there is the mark right there where I'm gonna just start with the normal stitch length. So I'm gonna back tack here and keep going with a small stitch length now to the bottom. Here you can see where the long stitch length reached up to there, and then this is the normal one. So I'm just gonna press this seam open. This is the left hip, the left side seam, and I have pressed the seam open there, and I have a pin here to mark where I changed the stitch length and where I did back tack to secure that side seam like the normal stitch length. So I've got an extra long zipper, it's the only one I could find, and just trim off the excess here on the top. That metal zipper stop has to be under this, so I'm just going to place it like 1/2 centimeter under, maybe 1/4 of an inch under there. I can feel it, it's right there, and it's going to be in the center of that seam. See, I can feel it, and I'll just go touching, make sure it's centered right there underneath that seam. And then I'll switch to my zipper presser foot and top stitch this zipper down. I'm going to trim the zipper there and attach the waistband there, and then have a little overlap with a button and a buttonhole. I've got the edge of the zipper foot there on the left, and I'm going to guide that along that seam there to keep it straight. And I'm just going to go removing pins as I go. I'm almost at that pin where I'm going to stop and pivot and sew this way. I can feel the metal right there. I don't want to sew up to that so I can crash on it with my needle. It has happened before. So I'm just pivoting here. I actually do these by hand. I hand crank these. So that is sewn on, and now I come over here where I have that stitch there, and if I just stretch this out a little bit, I can pull off that first stitch, and then this can easily just start coming off. Okay, so all that thread is gone, and you can see that the zipper teeth are right in the center here. So you saw that this was a little more simplified in the fabric treatment. This had already been steamed and whatnot, so that was all done. I didn't interface the pieces. This is a skirt and I wanted a softer look. I think if I had interfaced the pieces like I did with the jacket, it would have turned out super uncomfortable. So no thank you. Here is the center seam. I took great care to match because, you know, there's some sort of thing going on that you can't see that the seam is there. Like everything is matching right there. This is what took the longest. It took ages, to be honest, but it's so worth it because you can't really see the seam there. And then I have a little pleat just to give me some space to move around. It is fitted at the hips and then it goes straight down, so it's not that tight around my knee, but still any extra ease that you can get with a skirt like this is good. And I think this is a really clean way to give you that. For a vent, I would have needed much more seam allowance on the side if I wanted to add a vent on the back. So those are all things I think about. I just decided to get the ease and the front with a pleat, and I think it's really pretty. Here are my little flaps. They were sewn in the exact same way I did with the jacket, so if you want to see that, go ahead and watch the jacket video. They are interfaced and bound, satin bias tape, and then covered with a trim. All of that was sewn by hand, and I have the same buttons I used on the jacket there. Just decoration, you know, this serves no purpose. There's no pocket there. It's just decoration. And I didn't have enough fabric to cut out the original curved waistband that this pattern has, so I just cut out a rectangle. Look, I have to be honest, I had nothing left to cut out this waistband, so I think I have like 3 seams in the waistband, but I was really careful to match up the print as well, so you can't see the seams, you just can't see them. And I cut it narrow, and then the rest that's inside is just a cotton. That's what I did there for 2 purposes. Because I didn't have enough to cut it double and then fold it in, like, you know, a rectangle waistband can be super easy like that. But I didn't want this whole blend touching my skin. I'd rather have the cotton there. So that was the thing there. Over here, I have a zipper on the hip. I would usually try to put this either on the front or the back. But for this style, because I didn't want to have another seam at the back, I just left the back on the fold, easy peasy, and just did my zipper right there. It's not my preferred method, but if there's no other way to not disrupt what I'm doing, I'll do it. And I did it there. It's just a simple centered zipper insertion. It's so easy. And I interface this area as well to make it more stable. I have a buttonhole with a button right here. The waistband overlaps just a tad to be able to get that closure on the side. Really discreet button right there. No one's gonna ever see it because I don't tuck in. It's right here on the side. So that's what I did there. And on the inside, it's fully lined. I didn't have much fabric lengthwise, so I measured my skirt was gonna be quite short. I didn't want it to be that short if I folded up an inch hem allowance, for example. So I decided to just lose 1/4 inch of all that total length and do something different, which is a hem facing, which is something super easy. It can just give you more length, and that gives you a type of hem under here. So that's where it is. It's just the same cotton I used in the waistband, quite structured. I've sewn that on with 1/4 inch, and then I folded that up, and that edge is serged, and that's where I hand sewed it down. So it gives me a hem, it gives me structure, and it makes me lose only 1/4 inch from the bottom rather than losing a whole inch. So this is 3/4 inch longer, and I would take any extra length because it was actually quite short when I tried it on. Here is the lining. The lining was cut exactly the same. Now when I do lining, I don't sew the darts on the lining. I just fold them as pleats. I think that's just more comfortable, and I always do it like that. And I also have a pleat on the front here to give me the ease, you know, with the lining. I don't want to just cut this normal and be restricted in my movements inside the skirt, because then the pleat on the outside would make absolutely no sense. So I do have a little pleat right there. Here where the zipper is, I like to just sew that by hand. So that is just slip stitched on really neatly, tiny stitches, and that just holds the lining down where the zipper is. So that's all, and then the waistband covers the whole thing. There's the cotton. It's just so nice. I mean, I can't be happier. I'm just so happy with this. I have filmed this for you in a way to showcase the skirt, but it's not like I'm gonna wear it like that, because I'm not gonna be walking around in a little tight cami tucked into my skirt in my life. But I did film it and take photos like that so you could see the details of the skirt on. And of course you'll see it also paired with my jacket, because that is the whole point. I've styled it here with red accessories and a red cami, but you know, any color can go under here. Here is my modified glissando skirt. I made it a little different, but it is the same pattern. It's to match my coda jacket that you'll see later. It's above the knee. It's the longest I could get it with the amount of fabric I had left. I have a little inverted box pleat on the center and fake flaps that are gonna match the jacket. This is a set, but I could wear it separately. I just have a cami here so you can see the details. The way to get into this skirt is with a zipper on the side. I have the waist starts on the back, and the back is simple cut on the fold. All in all, a simple skirt that's super pretty. It's lined inside and it's very comfortable. I could wear this on its own or with my jacket. Here is my glissando skirt. It's modified to match my coda jacket in the same style. It's a wool blend fabric. It's fully lined. I've got the same little flaps there on the front, fake pocket flaps to match the ones on the jacket, and I love it. I can wear any colors underneath. I've just got red here because it's my favorite, and it's so pretty. You know, you'll see a bit of these flaps when I walk around with my jacket open, but otherwise they're just decorative, and I had a lot of fun doing that and using the last little bit of trim I had left over from making the jacket. I really love it. It's just the best. I've dreamed of having a set like this, and I'm very happy I put the time in to make it. So nice. And you can do this. This is the glissando. It's just sewn in a different way, but the pattern pieces are exactly the same. I just added that little pleat on the front so I can move around easier, that's all. I'm just so happy. I could have just styled this on its own, maybe with boots and a turtleneck. So I do have other options to wear this, not just as a set. This is really formal. I would wear this to church and I would be very happy. I'd be happy to dress this down and dress this down on its own. Having this set is just so satisfying, and you can do it too if you want. And I do want to clarify one thing though. This is not meant to be a copy of the brand jacket. This is just an inspiration. I was not looking to doing all the couture techniques. You know, that type of jacket can take months to make. There's like 80% of hand sewing in there. That was not my goal. And I think in the comments, some of you were confused about that and had some critiques that this is not couture. I never said it was. I never said it was. I said it was a simplified way. And I even explained how it was simplified and how you can get the look without all the techniques. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to do the real thing. I am going to do the real thing, and I've been gathering supplies and studying. I want to just go full on with that. But that will be a project I'll show you in a few months. So I just wanted to make that clear. I hope this has been an inspiring week for you. I've been sewing up a storm for these last few days that I even gave myself some tendonitis here on my thumb. It's really painful, and yeah, I'm gonna have to take it easy for the next few days. Let me know if that's happened to you, because I sew so much. It's really painful and I wish it didn't happen. It's just a huge barrier to what I do, but then again, it forces me to take a break, right? So yeah, let me know. I've ordered a brace to just let it rest without movement for a few days, and I think that will take that inflammation down. Anyway, enough about my tendonitis. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you on this channel very soon. Bye.